Hi, I'm Simon Isaacs and I lead the commercial and industrial print division at Ricoh UK, and this is our Anything in Print podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We are really glad to have you here because this business podcast series is designed specifically for you, the print community. This show is about bringing you the latest advice, tips and strategies from our network of experts within the print and related industries like marketing, business and finance. It's all about knowledge sharing to help you and your organisations reach your purpose and fulfil your business goals. But before we dive in, remember you can find all of our education video content on our Ricoh Anything in Print series page. Now, let's begin. Hello, and I'm very excited to have Scott Russell with us today, the Worldwide Vice President of Inline Systems for Plotmatic, who are a much bigger partner to Ricoh than probably many of you today are currently aware. So in our combined drive to innovate, automate and integrate print and finishing hardware with software to add real tangible benefits to our industry, I'd like to hand over to Scott to tell us a bit about himself, Plotmatic, and the relationship with Ricoh to begin with.
Great, thanks, Simon. It's really good to be here on a snowy day in Stockholm, Sweden, where Plotmatic is based. And nice introduction, thank you for that. But you know, in companies like ours that have to be responsive and move real fast, some of us have multiple titles. So not only do I manage a lot of aspects of our inline systems business, that is products that connect directly to Ricoh products, but I've also got responsibility for group marketing for the whole group, inline and offline products, and technical support for the group. So it keeps me really, really busy, but it also, gives me a lot of perspective from every angle of, how a customer experiences our technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a perspective is a great thing when you focus on the purpose of what we deliver. So can you give us a bit more detail about how you look at it from that perspective?
Sure. And Ricoh and Plotmatic have been working together for years and years. And I think what we recognized really early on is that it's not just about print. It's not just about workflow. It's about finishing as well, because the finished document tells a story. What customers are looking to do with print is tell a story fundamentally, and that's not changed. And we just work really hard to find a way to make it easier for print providers, whether they're in plant or commercial printers. We just try to make it easier for them to tell these stories on behalf of their customers.
Yeah, do you know what I mentioned at the start that it's a bigger relationship than people might be aware of with Ricoh, because sometimes we'll have a Plotmatic option we sell, but obviously sometimes, as far you and I know, that when they're speccing a Ricoh printer, some of that's your stuff.
It is. It is, and our relationship is kind of an OEM relationship and kind of a reseller relationship. It's this hybrid that's evolved over time. And when it comes to new product development, we work with a number of printing systems manufacturers in the industry, but we tend to sit with Ricoh people in Japan, in Europe, and in North America often to try to really understand where the industry is going, and most importantly, what customers really need in order to do a better job and make more money.
Yeah, and when we're integrating as well, because we sit at that level, it's not just about, we look at the end product and work backwards from there, and how you then make that device actually, take in plain paper, and the data, and give a fully integrated product at the end of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And but before we kind of dig in, Simon, to like the trends and how to help people drive business and have a better time of it, I was giving some thought to the fact that sometimes people, particularly now with the external situation we've got all over the world. Let's call it that, the external situation, right? People are inclined to say, "Oh my God, print! It's under so much pressure. Print is really difficult. There are unique pressures to print." And I was just thinking about that this morning. And the fact is that name an industry that is not facing structural challenges that are really enormous. I mean, just name one. And a couple of them came to mind to me. I mean, would you rather be in the auto industry? I mean, talk about complicated, right? You've got regulatory issues, environmental issues, competitive issues, capacity issues, huge investments, sunk cost in technology, and electric versus diesel. I mean, it's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at energy is the same kind of thing. All kinds of pressures on the energy industry. So why should print be any different? I mean, all we're trying to do together, Rico, Plockmatic, the customers, is just find a way to succeed in an environment that is changing faster than ever. And I gave some thought to, in printing or in any industry, what kind of characteristics do people need to have to succeed in that? And the thought I had, and this is all going to make sense. We're going to get to applications in a minute, but what occurred to me is that customers who are most agile, who understand how to take new technology and use it and package it in new ways, customers who engage in tighter relationships with their customers through consultative selling, not just doing what the customer wants, but actually guiding the customer in the right direction, are the folks who start to succeed. And it's how they use these technologies to deliver more value to their customers and to allow print to play a larger role in the customer's communication mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned some of the industries and some of their challenges with the car industry, and print plays to all of that. So you look at the pressures for automotive. And I know personally, I've probably read more words than driven miles about cars recently. My car's sat on the drive, and I've read probably half a dozen motoring magazines. So print's selling more than the automobiles themselves. But you look at that how they market, how they engage their customers, how they get through regulatory. And print plays a part with all of that, and the innovation of what we do plays a part in their whole life cycle. So I guess from that perspective, we're in a much better place than they are.
Yeah, and that's a brilliant way to look at it. I mean, no matter what part of the business or the industry you're in, print has a role to play. And our job is to help our customers make sure they're well positioned to respond to their customers. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned as well, you've got a marketing role within the organization. And I think that's interesting and important because, whenever we create good stuff, and this is true of all industries as well as ours, it's almost just as important that you create the marketing buzz around it than it is the product itself. I mean, is Apple a great company because of the products it makes or because the marketing it delivers around that? And it's a combination. It's always a combination. The stuff we make doesn't sell itself, and the stuff that we innovate doesn't sell itself. So I was thinking when you mentioned that about the marketing aspect from our customers as well and what they do.
Yeah.
So how they take this great stuff that we're bringing together and how they use it to innovate. So have you got any experience, and the big guys are all looking at this, they've all got it in place, but have you got any experience on how the whole marketplace and some of the the smaller, more agile companies can use this stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is just my opinion and kind of what I've seen over many years in the marketplace. But when you think about it, a lot of innovation in our industry has begun at the high end. That's where media flexibility, the ability to run a wide range of jobs, formats, sizes, quality levels, all that stuff really, kind of had its start for the big guys. And I'm not just thinking about digital, I'm thinking about all the printing technologies, gravure, offset, et cetera. All those innovations were really at the high end. They were kind of customized, more difficult to control, and really for people who had a lot of money to make big capital investments. But think about what we've seen over time. Ricoh, for example, has, operating in an extraordinarily competitive environment. There's incredible pressure to innovate. We're in the same situation, and that's worked to the benefit of our customers. But let's take a couple of those innovation points. Image quality. We now take superb, evocative, high quality digital print for granted. We just expect it's going to look great. It's going to inspire me in some way by turning pages through a book or a manual or a document, even if it's subconscious, because the quality's there. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing. Then the next thing was, okay, you've got quality, but media also forms an impression in print, right? Whether it's textured, whether it's coded, whether it's uncoded, the media itself plays a role because print is incredibly powerfully also tactile.
Yeah.
So there's been a ton of innovation. That's where Plockmatic and Ricoh have worked really hard to allow customers to run a range of media types because media tells a story.
Yeah.
Third, workflow. I mean, the big guys have taken advantage of superb workflow tools as a way to pull cost out of the business as fast as they possibly can. And in order to support declining run lengths and a greater number of jobs. Well, in the industry today, there have been great investments in workflow to help customers in the small and medium-sized players, the real agile, quick-moving players, to compete in the same way. And then you've got overall cost. The cost of digital print has been under pressure and declining. So what's the last great frontier for the small and medium-sized printer, or any printer who wants to be more agile and compete more effectively, and who wants to make print speak louder? Format. So now we get to the great frontier. The next frontier is format. And that's where Plockmatic and Ricoh have done a lot of investment together to help customers say yes to more jobs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I went on a bit there, but did that sort of answer your question?
I was going to slightly interrupt you and go, when you said what's the next, I was waiting. I was on the other side. What is it? What is it?
What is that next thing?
You're right. I was thinking, because of the media we get through, the length of the media, the thickness of what we're producing digitally, the fact we can do it at speed, reliably, and on board and duplex in ways that we couldn't years ago, and do it with, one guy
Exactly. Exactly. And the ability to respond from job to job to job. I mean, this is where Ricoh and Plockmatic have also made some investments. How do you make the equipment flexible enough, the technology platform flexible enough to allow it to adapt from job to job to job many times throughout the day?
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got some great hot examples where I just wish I had some with me. I don't suppose you've got any that are lying around.
Things.
Some of the landscape brochures and the folded things that we can do. Yeah, I saw a lovely one for a well-known car company that we produced only a few weeks ago. Again, bringing it back to other industries, but there's some really fantastic stuff that I'm seeing, which 5-10 years ago, people just couldn't have produced.
Well, you're right. And if it did get produced, it got produced on very specialized equipment that was for these big guys. And by the way, we're really happy to sell solutions to big guys.
Yeah.
That's not the question. But I think that, the fun of this is helping everybody get a piece of the pie. Finding a way for everybody to level the playing field and compete. And the other thing I was thinking about too is, for Ricoh customers, is the question that they need to ask themselves, I think, among the many questions, is what is the share of their customers' print communication that they get?
Yeah.
And how much of it gets shopped to other people? And when they look for new technology platforms, Again, this goes into our minds here at Plockmatic when we invest in new things, which is all about taking high-end features and bringing them into the mid-range. Is the print services provider needs to ask, am I capturing everybody? Am I capturing all the work I can from my customers?
Yeah, absolutely. As we look at COVID and even the big guys and the smaller guys, some of the applications, the run lengths I think are getting smaller and smaller. So it's a great democratizer of the applications. You know, in that context of jobs getting smaller, even the big guys and the big generators of the work,
yeah,
they want more personalized. And the car brochure I was talking about, although it's from one of the major brands, it now isn't right. It isn't printed litho and stacked in warehouses. It's digital based on what people are hitting their website. So that brochure could be produced for any brand could be essentially it's a run length of one, big or small, and by any size of company. So to me, there's some fantastic opportunities now for companies of any size to look at the world differently.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, the promise of digital print production, the great promise that started in the 1990s, I'm almost embarrassed to say that I know that, but in the 1990s, early 90s, was print for one, print on demand was the phrase at the time. And it's interesting that the technologies of the World Wide Web, et cetera, and all of that connectivity have been great enablers of really providing the tools people need to deliver short runs. And in addition to that, coming back to the whole workflow discussion, there are so many workflows that help people cost effectively do those lower runs, which again levels the playing field, democratizes, perfect word, you know, the ability to print by letting smaller, agile, medium-sized printers respond using technology to print a short number of prints and many more jobs a day, which is always the big challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people are used to producing, you know, as many as they produce. It could be thousands, tens of thousands, or millions a day. But now what we're seeing is that they may still be getting that volume, but it's made up in many more jobs. So rather than it being one job of 100,000 or 10,000, or in some of my customers, one job of a million a day for some of the larger transactional type guys, it's now hundreds of smaller jobs. And this is across regulated, unregulated, marketing, transactional. Everything's getting more frequent, more personal, more relevant.
Yeah, for sure. So you started talking about some of these applications, you know, the things that people can sell, the things that people can use. And I want to come back to my kind of theory or thought process that print is continuing to evolve because of all the intense competition. Good thing for people in general. Again, if you're quick, capable, responsive, listening, consultative. But it's all an effort, isn't it, of print to continue to stand out in a complex media mix, right? I mean, if you think of all the ways that customers have now, all the routes they have, there's an American pronunciation route. Is it routes or routes? Right.
Well, we would say routes.
Okay, it's all these routes to the customer. In Pennsylvania, it'd be routes. So you've got all these ways to get to the customer, these avenues. And what print has done with format is just, again, working to stand out and to complement all the different ways you can reach a customer. So because you mentioned landscape books, I want to come to that. And I want to, you take something like this. This format starts out a bit like that, right? It starts out in that kind of size. Done, let's get down to the nitty gritty. Done in duplex, done with extremely high quality, done in a productive way without a lot of setup and complication and what do I load, what do I unload. It may have multiple stocks. It'll almost certainly have a unique cover and then body stock, which means you're going to need 2 pick points to do a job like this because you want to do it in line. You want to do it in an automated way, ideally. So you'll use feeding technologies unique to Plockmatic and Rico together to feed these sheets. And for everybody who's just listening, I'm holding up a landscape book, an A4 landscape book. And then you'll want to be able to print, trim on 3 sides, stitch, obviously, and square fold this document to give it this professional appearance, the kind of appearance that makes somebody want to pick it up and use it. So you think, yeah, okay, it's a landscape book, big deal. Well, the big deal is that until now, these were done thousands at a time in high-end settings. And now, again, coming back to this share of customer, now Rico customers of all sizes and of all types have an opportunity to produce this for their customers. And I will guarantee that there are a lot of these being produced that Rico customers don't see today, but they can grab a hold of and pull in to get more share of their customers' print. Does that make sense, Simon?
Absolutely. And when you look at something like that, usually, when people were trying to do it, they were printing on, A4. They were taking it offline. They were probably putting it through a perfect binder to get the form, rather than putting a single 60 centimeter sheet in and folding it in line and square backing it. It was a much more complicated, much more expensive process.
Exactly. And again, it's all about offering more and more services. Again, I'm going to say it for like the 16th time, to allow yourself to be agile and responsive. And not every customer will come to you as a printer and say, what I need is an A4 landscape book. But if a printer's made the investment, then he or she can offer to that customer, hey, let's think about how much better a car or an interior shot would look in this format than if it's put into a format that doesn't make as much sense. And the beauty of documents like that is they just look different than something on a display.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they do look much more expensive, much more professional. They say something about the product and the brand that you're looking to invest in, to purchase, to get the information from.
Exactly. But it's not just landscape. It's documents of all formats and sizes. Yeah. So it is an 11, or I just went into imperial measurements, but it's a square book that's oversized, that again can be produced now by anybody using Rico and Plockmatic technology. And this is only months old. This capability is really just months old and available in the market. It's just coming online.
Absolutely. And it's great because it does innovate. And the book you've just held up, being oversized and square, looks very, very artistic. It looks like there's something you'd get in a gallery. It looks like something that is selling or showing off a really high quality artistic type product. And it just straight away, by just showing me that, my brain automatically relates the product, the pictures, to something that you're used to seeing in a certain environment. And this, this sort of finishing, the integration with the campaign, the introduction from our printers to these sorts of products to their customers, who are trying to obviously print not for the sake of it, but print something that helps further their business. And it might be a retailer, a manufacturer, a services, financial services or type organization. They don't print because it's intrinsic to their business. They print because it sells their business, or it automatically.
You're so right, Simon. I mean, I try to hang things into frameworks, right? Like all of us, we all try to take so much information and stuff that we have coming at us and hang it into frameworks. Well, here's a framework I've used that the printed piece, the printed document, really does one of 3 things. One, it is a product. It's the product itself. That's a book, a newsletter, a short-run magazine. It's the product. The second thing that print does is it supports our product. It sells it, makes people aware of it, helps people use it.
Yeah.
Helps. I mean, something as simple as an operating manual. which, you think, have those been completely replaced? Buy an appliance sometime in Europe, any kind of white good, and see what comes in the box. It's going to look like that, right? This is like 50 sheets, stitched, square folded to look like a perfect bound book. Okay, so those are documents that support a product. That's the second thing. And that's the biggest area today. That's where we're having a real impact, because for documents that support a product, it still comes down to quality, media, format, complementing the online experience to tell people a story about the product. Yeah. Then the third and final area really is documents support a business process. They support a process.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's kind of how you look at it. But the fastest growing area where Ricoh and Plockmatic are looking to make a difference together is in that area. I mean, we'll support anything, but the biggest area is obviously, as we've been talking about, documents or printed material that supports a product.
Absolutely, and we're seeing a great shift in what we produce, and so much stuff used to be produced that supports a process or shares information or adds value to that process. So much more of that is going online or is automated. We don't tend to pass a piece of paper to the next guy in line now to fill his part of the form out, or we tend to do that with document workflows. I'll plug some of our. We bought DocuWare, we bought MTI. We know that a lot of the value Ricoh has added over the last 90 years, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years has been around adding value to the data and to our interaction with it.
Yeah.
But we're doing that in different ways now.
Yeah.
So what we're doing now is far more focused on those two other areas of adding value to the product or creating the product itself.
Exactly. That is where the action is. And that's where printers of all sizes can play. But then it comes down to how are you using emerging technologies to create this demand and meet these needs. So we talked about booklets, and I love talking about booklets because it's one of the fastest growing application segments in the business. That's what all the consultants tell us, and we actually see it. But there's more to the finished document than just a booklet or booklets. There's the ability now for Ricoh customers to do documents that look like this, right? It's an A4 document, except that it's folded. It's a 6-panel brochure. So the simple ability and to produce a 6-panel A4 finished brochure is now available to Ricoh customers. And as part of a simple workflow, it's not complicated. It can fit into all the other work that a busy shop is doing all day long.
Yeah.
So, and that's about 900 millimeters. So it's the ability to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the new stuff that we've bought together, collaboratively in terms of the ability for us to print on that length and handle it within the printer, but also with your help, the ability to feed a load of it one end and take a load of it off the other end.
Yeah. Exactly, because I think your listeners or your viewers should understand that, where we've invested is in helping Ricoh customers print feed these long sheets or these larger formats just as easily as they handle SRA3 or A4 or A3, and make that just part of the normal workflow, just load it and go. But we also provide the stacking technologies that are widely used by Ricoh customers to stack something like that and move it around the shop in a productive way so that it can be finished, hopefully on Plockmatic technology, Plockmatic group technology, whether it's Morgana or Plockmatic. But yeah.
Yeah.
But there's more, as they say on television.
Excellent.
There's more. So, this kind of application, I have to stand up. To those of you who are listening, I've got to stand up and actually move away from the camera. This is 1,300 millimeters of print on both sides of the sheet. And this is going to be a point of sale advertisement for a retailer. And what I've got in my hand is it's a big advertisement for lots and lots of cushions. And it's duplex. It's on a very heavy stock. This is 400 or 350 to 400 GSM. And that is the kind of application that would normally have been done on specialized technology that, again, now blends into a customer's normal workflow with the help of Plockmatic for feeding the blank sheets and Rico for printing this in high quality.
Absolutely, and it's difficult. I mean, hopefully people are watching to get it. That is a hell of a piece of paper. You know, when you think of what we're used to from a digital printer, to visualize what we can now put through and actually print both sides and then finish it in line in a printer. You know, you think, wow. Yeah, that opens up some possibilities.
Well, it sure does. I mean, this is going to be part of a customer's point of purchase all over Europe. It's part of their point of purchase sales, a sales tool or to drive demand. But think about mass transit, think about all of the applications, all kinds of advertising applications for documents of this size. Now, this is what people used to call banner printing. Yeah. And I banner printing just always was too limiting to me because it always made me think of happy birthday, Uncle Dan, right? Big banner. When in fact, it's a lot more than that. It's really critical print applications that customers can do every day today.
Absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Well, here's one. I mean, this is a conundrum. It's a good word. A conundrum many customers will ask us
about. That's a very big word, Simon.
Yeah, another good word. It might be in terms of the paradigm that they're looking at. So that with these technologies, we spend a lot of time and we spend a lot of money and skill integrating and automating, so you can do it in a single pass. But yeah, there's a certain degree of finishing equipment that it's better to use inline or nearline or offline for different circumstances in the same way. What's your advice or view on that conundrum that our customers?
Yeah. I mean, here's the answer to that, and it's going to sound lazy, but I'm going to say it anyway. It depends. Every customer is different. And it's all about a conversation about what a customer needs. For example, some customers do similar jobs in a repetitive way over and over and over again, and they really benefit from inline systems. However, some customers need the flexibility of taking a single printing system and doing many different jobs in a day, where they know that the operator is free to do other things in their growing print environment and allowing the system to handle the handoff of documents from one process to another process to another process, all done inline. And inline is growing really fast. However, offline has a benefit because sometimes offline technologies can be better utilized with multiple print engines. And depending on the customer's job mix, they may want to free the print engine up to do other things while finishing takes place as a separate function. And Rico people can offer these different solutions in collaboration with the Plockmatic group and with our range of products. People tend to think of us more as the inline solution provider, a lot of your customers, but we make our feeding systems and booklet making systems and creasing and folding and perfect binding systems all work offline as well. Frankly, one of the barriers to inline used to be productivity. Can I get the most out of the print engine? But this is where we've collaborated a lot with Rico together to build systems that operate really productively, so that we don't slow the printer down for the widest range of job types. So it all, again, it all just depends, but it's part of a conversation, and it's part of the customer sitting down with their Rico representative or local Rico dealer to talk about, here's what I need to do, and to consult with them and then provide the right solution. Or it can be a mix of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've got so much of our stuff in both your HQ, my HQ, in the UK, Milton Keynes, in your place, and Telford for us, where we've got the printers and your equipment inline, nearline, where
Okay.
customers can come and play, test.
Listen,
With the
Telford.
mask on, of course, with the mask on.
Yeah, of course. But Telford is amazing. It is like a working print environment. And it is a great place for customers to get a look at what we do and what you guys do, whether it's inline or offline, and kind of just pause and think and reflect on what's best and or what combination of these tools is best in a real world kind of environment.
Yeah, and
So big commercial, a little nice commercial message for Telford, because I think it's a very unusual place for people to spend time in this business. There's a lot there.
I think as Jake, as our CEO, started to focus on purpose of customer, not what we thought we could invent and sell, but what's the customer actually doing with it. It was important that we built something that replicated what customers were doing and really make sure we were working with them and working with people who we have at Telford to produce that stuff. And there's some weird and wonderful things that we're doing. We're automating for the new spike in the food industry, where they're creating boxes of food for people to. So we're automating. Well, how do you put that many recipe cards and check that you put them in them with the right ingredients, the right number of cards in a cold environment where people have got gloves on and they can't. How do we get machines and robotics and finishing to work together to do that stuff? How do we get these products finished? I thought that one just because we've got the system being built this week to take a major brand in to see how it's being done. But it's a great environment, and I think it'd be nice if we could say to customers, here's the formula. If job length equals X, if repeatability equals Y, and your operator cost is X, then do this and then it's online, or do it and it's not. It's not quite that simple. But do you feel that, I guess, with COVID and also in the UK with Brexit and the availability of people, that automation is going to get more important?
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, again, name an industry that isn't touched by automation, right? And the need to provide efficiency and to deliver efficiency and flexibility. But what it does also is create new opportunities for people. It creates new opportunities for people in the business to just think differently about how they position their products, offer their products, consult with customers about them. But yeah, automation is playing an incredible role because, and I think the best way to look at print, and I think, what we try to help our people at Plockmatic help your people with is affecting both the market opportunity and the cost. So if you're a print provider, what you want to do is you want to deliver more print, but you want to pull cost out of your business as fast as you possibly can, because you have to. It's just the way the world works. It's the same for everybody in industry.
Yeah.
And so the idea is to partner. There's that really overused word, but when it works, it really works, right? To partner with someone to help you think that through. Automate, be more flexible, be more agile, provide more solutions, take some risks. It's the formula for success. Simon, I mean, you've been in the business a while. If you think of the most successful customers that you've worked with, there's probably some combination of those things that work with them.
Absolutely. The most successful guys that I've worked with over the past 20 years, they've really spotted, they've looked and invested, and they've spotted ways that they can automate and scale. And they've grown so big now that they've been taken over probably 2 or 3 times, but off the back of often a fairly simple idea. And they've gone after it and they've built it, and it has taken a product which probably had 10, 20 touch points into, maybe even one,
Yeah.
a roll of paper going in, and my background is a lot in transactional or online booklets, exam papers, those types of secure documents. And the guys that have done really well are the guys that looked at it and thought, how do I change this? How do I automate and then repeat it and sell it and capture a marketplace?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And then there's the other side, which is also just how do I capture more work, do more different things more efficiently and in a local way, And this takes us to, I think that I just have a special place, kind of in my business heart for the striving entrepreneurial, small and medium-sized guys who are trying to find an angle, trying to find a way to meet a customer requirement more effectively. And I just think of how can they use, technology to do that, and then how can they market that, explain it, get a customer on board with it. And I think the one thing, and I think I started with this in that kind of long introduction, but I think what I come back to more and more and more as I look at the work our companies have done together, it is that end customers, that is print services providers, who wait for work or who are glad when something comes in, are really, it's going to be tough. And what has to happen is not the statement, well, my customer says they don't need that capability. It's got to turn around into, I got a couple customers I can convince they need that capability.
Yeah, because it'll add value to their processes. I've seen it in this customer. I'm going to take it to that customer. I was talking to almost a friend that as an entrepreneur, and I've noticed this, and I don't know whether you have too. He said, we used to be able to invent something or invest in something and create a niche for ourselves, and you may, if you're lucky, be able to capitalize on that niche for 5 years.
Yeah.
But now, with the internet, he said, there's someone who's watching. We're all looking at each other. Yeah. And you may have a short window as 3 months to really get it out, and then capitalize. You've got enough customers. He said you've got the speed of execution to look for these opportunities, make the investment and really drive it out there. And you've got to be, as you say, very proactive with it.
Well, 5 years is an eternity today. It is, I mean, 5 years, who knows what's going to happen? And it just takes me back, to the basics of the product launches from Ricoh and Plockmatic over the last few months. Here in the heart of a pandemic, it just created so much challenge and so much heartache and difficulty for people. But yet in the heart of that, we've chosen to go forward together to launch some of the capabilities we've talked about today, to bring them to more people, that democratization of print, to allow more people to come to the party. And, and when this, when the world comes to look a little more like it did a year ago, and it will, there will be changes, but a lot of those changes would have happened anyway. Maybe a lot of them have been accelerated, and I'm not going to pretend I know where things are going. But I do know that taking advantage of technology that's not been available in a segment before, that's widely used. These applications we described today are widely used, but they've not been available to everybody.
Yeah.
So it's the best kind of technology revolution, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and
the stuff's already there.
It's there. It's been invented, and we've spent and we've invested a lot in it, because rather than just one or two guys being able to afford it and buy it, by creating it in a way that is a smaller investment, smaller scale, hundreds of people can use this.
Exactly.
And I think what we'll see is there's a few things you can guarantee with what's gone on recently. One is it will change the world forever. Two is no one can really predict when it's going to come back or go away, but you can guarantee there's going to be a more restrictive few winters coming up as health services get overloaded, and people are going to be focused on what they can produce in their factories with people further away from each other, and probably fewer people being there.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. That's true, Simon.
So I think a lot of this technology we're going to need. The people who are successful will use some of the government-backed loans to invest in their future, and they will spot opportunities, and they will be successful in print and reaching customers with exciting messages. Whether it's a multifaceted campaign through online, through advertising in other medias, in TV. Print will be an important part of that, and digital, personalised, relevant print is going to be much more important as we move forward than the mass-produced stuff, because the world's just moving so quickly.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question. You can bank on those trends, I think, Simon.
Absolutely. So just thinking about wrapping up, I mean, what would your advice be to those printers going into 2021? What we know we're not going to stand still. Right. It's not an option. But when we look out, I mean, what would your advice be to these guys?
Wow. I mean, I wouldn't want to be too presumptuous, but in my view, get as close to your customers as you possibly can. I'm talking about the print services providers, because they're under enormous pressure. They're balancing all kinds of issues. There are winners, there are losers, there are people who are holding their own. And I think, what can you do to help them? How can you enhance their ability to tell a story to the people who buy their products and services? And that's it. So what makes the story more effective? Well, it's got to look great. It's got to complement their other marketing activities that you delineated a moment ago. It's got to feel good. It's got to represent the product in the right way. And they've got to take full advantage of all the flexibility around format, design, to really grab people's attention. But it comes back, doesn't it, to listening for all of us. Something it's always a little bit difficult for me, but you really got to listen. So the print services provider, whether he or she's an implant or whether they're running a business, listen. And then when you've listened, consult, provide something new and something extra. And then what we've got to do at Plockmatic and Ricoh is we got to listen and help and support and do what we can to help people operate in what will be a different but interesting world.
Absolutely. Great advice and a great session. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
I hope the audience will enjoy it and obviously get it out there. And what I want the audience to really pick up on is the enthusiasm and optimism that we share. It's got a good grounding, and print. You mentioned storytelling, and what better way to tell a story than in print?
Yeah.
We can all see that now. That people value what we do, and humans value the tangible nature of print, and we need to be proud, and our customers need to be proud to really use their experience to go and sell the benefits of what we've been doing.
Yeah, I think so too. But listen, thanks a lot for your time. This has been a really nice way to kick off the year, and I do hope our conversation has benefited some of our viewers and listeners.
I'm sure it will. Thanks very much, Scott.
Sure. Take care.
That's a wrap for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this episode informative. If so, make sure you subscribe to all of our upcoming episodes and let us know any feedback you may have. You can also connect with myself and my guests on our Anything in Print series page.